topic is all about execution power in changing environments. We have found two great people to join us today. On the one hand, we have our presentator, and that's Marco van der Pol. He's Program and Portfolio Manager of Brainboss. Welcome, Marco. And as a reflector, we've got Geert Habets. And Geert is the Program and Project Lead FEC of Rabobank, one of the biggest banks. Welcome to especially the two of you. We do this session by granting Marco like 15 minutes to do his presentation. After that, Geert is going to reflect upon that presentation for like 5 minutes. And after that, there's time for you to state your questions. You can state your questions by raising your hand, and I will give you the mic. Or you can put your question into the chat room, and then I will ask you to phrase your question yourself, or I can read it out. So good morning all. I wish you a joyful session and a learning session. And let's get over to Marco for his presentation. Marco, just go ahead.
All right, thank you, Tuan, and everybody. Welcome. Hope you take a lot away with you from this presentation. A short introduction from myself. I'm actually a graduate of Business School Netherlands. I graduated in 2011. I'm also one of the action learning coaches at the moment. And within Brainboss, I'm a principal consultant responsible for project and portfolio management. Brainboss is a small consultancy firm in Utrecht, in the Netherlands. And we help organizations to be effective by having good portfolio management and project execution. And that's why this topic is also on top of my head, execution power. How are we able to execute in these changing environments we have today? And I'm just looking for the presentation. If you can have that on screen. Perfect. Please, the next slide. So in today's changing world, being effective is getting harder and harder. This is why execution power is increasingly needed. And we'll dive a little bit deeper later on in the presentation why it's getting harder. But for this presentation, I want to write down a definition of execution power. And that's for me the ability of an organization to achieve goals by taking the appropriate action to transform vision into reality. And the key word and the essence of this is ability, and the ability to make a difference. The ability is influenced by things that we don't have control of, and those are called influence. Basically, you need to deal with those, and you can only react upon. But at the same time, you influence your execution power by having disciplines. And disciplines is stuff you can work on, you can build knowledge around them, and you can master them. So both of these two items are of influence of execution power. And we'll talk about both topics in this presentation. So please, next slide. So we'll start out with influencers. And influencers, like just said, are things that impact us. And in today's world, the number is increasing, the frequency of those influencers are increasing, and especially the impact. And so there are lots of examples in today's world, and I just put a couple of them on the slide. But one that everybody knows, because it's a global impact, it's Corona. And this has a huge impact on a lot of organizations, and they need to deal with that. But influence can also be more subtle. A nice example I find is the Suez Canal blockage, where ships weren't able to go through the Suez Canal. And with that, a lot of shortage came to a lot of companies which depended on that transport. And technology is a great influencer. And like AI, it's something which is coming up at the moment. which we don't know exactly what the influence is. But I think the takeaway of it, it's sometimes an influence is negative, but it can also be positive. So let's take a look on how influencers can have an impact on our daily business. And we'll do that with a couple of examples. And please go to the next slide. So when you have a factory, a straight-through operations organization, everything is very stable and predictable. It's like a baking recipe. It can be very clear what you need to do, and the way you get that end result. And you can do it over and over again. So this is the easiest way to have your organization run. But unfortunately, we can't always do that. So in today's world, we're dealing with a lot of changes to be on top of our game. And with a normal change, let's say doing projects, it's all about managing risks. And this is probably something we're doing once in the organization, a project. So it asks everybody to stay alert, but the outcome is clear and we can manage to get to that outcome. Now, but in a VUCA world, the end result itself isn't clear. We can't really tell what the end result will be because of all those influences. And a good example is a presentation I gave to a network organization of installation bureaus a couple of years ago. And those are bureaus which install aircos and heatings into new buildings and existing ones. And I asked them what would be, what would happen if we got 3D printers who print houses, be able to not only print the walls, but also be able to print everything you install. So every little element, and what would be the impact of that? So the business of just implementing and installing those heatings and those aircos, that would change significantly. So what will their future be? Will they be delivering those printers? Would they be the ones who making the technical drawings for those printers? Will they supply the raw materials, or what's most connecting with their business model? And one of the companies I met a couple of years later, and they developed a new solution for cleaning large container ships with their knowledge. And they took a really different turn in their future. So from installing appliances to really implementing something which is completely new. And now they're on top of the market in that area. But they didn't saw that coming earlier on. So the ability to adapt to a situation, that's essential. And this shows that big interruptions leave you sometimes clueless in what direction you should go. And in this case, the company didn't choose to wait and see what the market does or go with the flow, but they took a really different kind of step. So what can we do to increase our execution power to really steer in a direction you want to go? Next slide, please. So to be in control, you have to build disciplines, and those disciplines basically fall into three categories. So the first one is able to build a future, a vision, a clear strategy, which you can build up. And to do that, you have to be innovative and knowledgeable about what you can do, what's the future bringing, and how you can deal with that. Completely on the other side, there is things you need to do right away. So you need to be action oriented. Only the near future is very clear. So you can take appropriate action for that near future. And you need to take action directly, but keep focus on your actions. Don't be distracted and move out of that focus. And to do that, you need to have clear communication. You need to bring everybody on the same page. Make sure that if we talk, for instance, about a tree, everybody knows what tree and how it looks like, how it smells like. Really get that discussion going on how we see trees. And next is problem solving skills. You'll be continuously be influenced by different kind of problems, and you need to solve them, and not solve them in a quick manner, but solve them in a good strategic way so they won't reappear. And finally, you need to build relationships, because you need quick action, you need quick focus, really need to understand each other and depend on each other. So building relationship is key of getting that in place. And me as an action learning coach, I'm also advocate for action learning, and action learning teams and sessions actually concentrate on communication, transparency, problem solving, and relationships, and it really gives you action and focus. So one of the things I would encourage is a set of action learning within your organization, and that will be a step in the right direction. So please, next slide. So what about things you can do tomorrow? First of all, validate your vision, your goals, and your strategy. It's something you need to work continuously on, not make a plan for 1 or 2 years, but make that plan and then really follow up to that plan, and stay on par. Make sure that your vision is continuously reflecting market situations. Identify problems and solve them, communicate, but also get out of your comfort zone. Be fully charged and persistent. Make sure that you pick up everything and get working on it. And finally, stimulate your innovation and continuous learning, because only that will help you to discover new things which influence your vision, which help you solve problems and help your organization grow. So be fully charged and be persistent. That's what you need to do to get through these kind of changes. And that's for now the presentation, Twan.
Perfect, Marco. Thank you so much. That's really interesting. Hopefully, there's a lot of questions coming in later on, but first we are going to listen to Geert to reflect upon what you've just said.
Okay, thanks, Twan. Let me start with a short introduction of myself. I work for Rabobank for quite some time. And as you already mentioned, Rabobank is one of the largest banks in the Netherlands, and has a leading position in the food and agri sector worldwide. So currently, I work as a program manager for the Financial Economic Crime Department, and I'm lead change and implementation for the sanctions department. So the department that's focusing on investigating sanction risks for the bank. And that means that I'm overseeing all the change projects for this department. So within Rabobank, I work closely together with Marco, and within my role, today's topic is close to my heart. So as Marco mentioned it as a VUCA world, but as a bank, we are in a challenging period, and there's lots going on within our organization. Changes follow each other in rapid succession. So execution power is, I think, a great skill in this environment and really needed. What struck me in Marco's presentation, he's focusing on the changes in a complex environment. And Marco mentioned it as a VUCA world. So that's what we see everywhere. lots going on, many changes within organizations. And to me, execution power is really important to realize changes, but also, and that was what Marco was focusing on, changes, but it's also very important to run your daily operations. Because without execution power, it's hardly impossible to manage your teams and to get to success and to run your daily business. So with a Rabobank, let's say for daily operations, let's say depending on mostly lean techniques to come in a flow of continuous improvement. I miss in the presentation the link, let's say, with the daily operations and continuous improvement. But I fully agree with Marco that your success in steering and execution really depends on the way you manage your operations and risks. So the components, operations and risks. I recognize those in the presentation. Marco also talked us through the most important disciplines needed for the execution power. And I fully agree with Marco that you really need all these disciplines to be successful in your execution. But in practice, I really experience that it's very, very hard to fill in all these disciplines sufficiently all the time. So often we see, let's say, that the focus is, for example, on problem solving or building a vision. But it's most of the time it's very hard to have them all filled in sufficiently. So what I really want to know from Marco, and maybe he can elaborate a little bit on that one in let's say the Q&A, what his vision is on let's say where your focus should be, let's say in a real life situation, and how you can manage to avoid that you, let's say, lost or let's say have to less communication, for example, or left on or lose your focus, let's say, on your end goal. I missed one thing, let's say when Marco talked about disciplines, and it was, let's say, the importance of a really clear governance. So who's responsible for what within your change on organization. So yeah, I think that were my main observations out of Marco's presentation.
Thank you so much, Geert. Nice questions. People, we are open for questions from the public as well now. And you can put them in the chat, like there's one in now, or you can raise your hand. But first, let's ask Marco to reflect upon the questions that Geert raises about vision and governance. Can you say something about that, Marco?
Yeah, sure. So in the question of Geert was vision and focus should also be in real life situation, and with all these disciplines, what could you focus on really, which makes a difference? And for me, it's the importance of communication. That really makes a difference. And it sounds a bit simple, like start communicating, send out a newsletter or something, but it's actually about all understanding what we're doing. Really take time to understand the issue and what we need to do with it. It's something we miss out because of the pressure of time. We really want to move quickly, but forget to really have a discussion, to really deepen the subject and understand what we need to do. So that's for me the first most important one. A clear governance, naturally, but also with building relationship, I feel that governance is important. Eventually, within your organization, there are people who are responsible for making decisions and moving the organization in the right direction. But also building relationship with each other helps to understand and make sure everybody is heard and make a better decision. Because it's all about decision making, I think. So hopefully that helps, Geert.
Good answer, Marco. I see there's a hand raised from Shuk Woody. Can you please state your question?
Yeah, thank you so much for this brief but powerful presentation. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. My name is Chukwudi, and I'm a sales manager in a company. And this topic actually spoke to me. When you talk about execution and building the discipline to execute, as a manager over here, one can say, "Oh, I have built the discipline to help me in my execution ability." But most times, for instance, over here, you now see some outside factors that come to influence in what you are doing that affect your execution at the end of the day. For instance, over here in Nigeria, we've been battling with exchange rate fluctuation, which has really impacted our execution capacity as a salesperson. You keep going to renegotiate, prices keep changing. So you now see in a situation like this, one has built discipline to close deals as a salesman. But these outside factors keep affecting our operation, and it becomes a challenge to me. So I don't know if you have a word or two of how one can actually address some of these challenges that are external. Thank you.
Yeah, so if I hear your question correctly, you're troubled by outside influencers which you don't have control of, and you're looking for how to deal with that in your organization. And yeah, and the thing with influencers is you can't influence them. So you basically need to deal with them. But the way you deal with them can be different in many ways. So the example I gave with the installation bureaus was to really discover how can we do a different kind of service with our knowledge and technology. But from the sound of it, of your case, it's more about how can we make sure that we're not influenced and impacted too much. So I think problem solving skills is important, as well as understanding the impact of the situation to your organization. What are the possibilities? What are the things that you could pick up? Which problem do you have, and how can you solve them? So via that road, you could try to see what are the opportunities for your business.
Okay. Nice. Well, I've got a lot of questions in the chat room. I will start with the first one. How do you distinguish hypes from real developments, and to what should we respond?
Yeah, so it's always a good question. What's an hype, and what's really something which is going to impact you? And the thing is that as soon as you feel that you're impacted, it's not an hype. It's something which really tangible and getting in your organization. So that's something that you should pick up seriously and see what you can do with it in advantage, but also in risk avoidance to make sure that you get clear. So for me, it's not about is it a hype, but is it a real potential danger? So for instance, the Suez Canal example I gave, it's a real threat to some companies, but it's not a hype which all organizations in your business area are impacted by. So it's about understanding what's coming up and how that influences your organization.
Does make a lot of sense, Marco. The next question you can answer as well, Geert, but it's coming from Femi. Femi, can you state your question, or do I read it out? Femi Omolulu?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. Good morning.
There you are. Yeah.
Yeah. What I was saying is that our environments are constantly changing, and sometimes as a leader, you build this good vision and you have this strategies in place, and there's this difficulty within finding the balance of when to stay the course of what you've decided to do concerning the strategy and the changes that are going around you. So how does one recognize the triggers that make you say, okay, you really have to change your strategy now, or does one just, continue to press on with what one has decided to do from the onset? Thank you.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, how can you recognize that you need to act on the influencers? And for me, one of the most important things is data. Make sure you get data right. I'm trying to give an example. For instance, if you look at the number of certificates for professional project management, that's gone up from the 2000 to 2014 hugely. And since 2014, it doubled in size in the 10 years. But it's stalling a bit now. What you see now, it's agile management has almost the same number of certificates as professional project management. And so it indicates that the world is changing. And for us as a Brainboss, as a company who's really focusing on project management, on portfolio management, we look at those figures to see, hey, what's happening and how is that influencing us? Do we need to make a change? But you need to actively look for the things that might be interesting for you to really get those triggers up front. So innovation and looking at data, it's very important for me.
We got a remark from Juliet. I will read it out to save time, but she's telling us I'm right now struggling with change in my organization, and this helps me to understand the best questions to use to identify the missiles towards me. So that's more a remark than a question. Then to the next one, Mohammed. Mohammed, are you live with us? Can you state your question? Okay, I'm going to read it out. What are other indicators?
Yes, I am.
Oh, there you are. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good morning.
Thank you for joining a bit late. Yeah, my question is, what are the indicators that you rely on? Of course, beside the regular KPIs, when you need to switch, you need to take a decision to switch, or you change the way you work. When you see that you don't deliver, I mean that you think about changing the way you work, the organization, or some people, or maybe pivot in terms of objectives. What are the indicators beside the KPIs that you rely on in order to decide to do so?
Yeah, so the indicators you cut in your organization, the KPIs, probably tell you how your business is doing now, and not being predictive in what change is coming up towards you. It's showing if change already happens and how to deal with that. So it's in that sense is a bit reactive. So to be more reactive, you have to do research and look at things that are sometimes even remotely influencing your business or have the potential to influence your business. So start a thinking group about things that influence your organization, so you can look at the vision you have and see of all the things that's coming your way, what's impacting and what's not, and what might be the opportunity, what might be something which can be harmful. So it's about searching actively about things.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you for asking this beautiful question, Mohammed. I have a final question, but first I would like to give Geert the audience because he's raised his hand.
Yeah, maybe I wanted to add one thing to Marco's answer and to the previous question, because to me, really, let's say the difference between incidents and trends is really important. So, what we try to do within our organization is, let's say, to deviate the incidents from the trends and looking for trends, and use the trends to steer on, and let's say if necessary, if we see it changing trends, then we change our vision or the way we work, and to avoid, let's say, acting on incidents. But I know, let's say, in real life that's very hard, but that's the way I see it. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think it's up to me to ask the last question. What I would like to know is, okay, execution power, as you told us in your presentation, comes from within, within people itself. But that's not the way you can cope with that in an organization. So my question is, how do you do this in organizations? How do you arrange for execution power to come in? Marco, still there? Geert, how you do that? How do you arrange for your organization to change and get some execution power?
Marco is entering again.
Oh, Marco's entering. Yeah, so how do we do that within our organization? So within my reflection, I already mentioned that I missed, let's say, the governance as a discipline or topic. So setting up a strong governance for, let's say, the execution of a change or project or program or whatever is, in my opinion, a very important topic to work on. So that, but I know that's just one. So beside that, of course, we try to hire the right people, or people, let's say, that are suitable for their job. So we try to look for people with different skills, and combine teams with different skills. So and last but not least, I really think it's important that we work with critical thinkers, so that not everybody agrees with each other, but has the power to reflect, to come with other opinions, and to have discussion. And I think that's helping us to move on and execute our ideas and reaching our goals. But I'm curious what Marco's opinion is. I'm not sure if he's in already.
Yeah, I'm back in. Sorry, but my laptop didn't work with me, so I'm on my phone now. But I missed your talk a bit, Geert.
Oh,
okay. Well,
so the question was, let's say, what we do on execution power, with how we organize execution power within our organization. So I mentioned three things. The first one was setting up strong governance. Second one was hiring people with different backgrounds and different skills. So setting up teams with different people. And the third one was creating the room for critical notes and having discussions and conversations to get new insights.
Yeah, what I totally agree with that. That really helps in execution power, but I also think that managers, which we work with, which are making a change, are really up to the task. They leave no stone unturned. They pick up things right away, and so in a sense, they're real entrepreneurs moving forward. So that helps a lot in making that difference. So attitude is an important component for me to make that difference in execution power.
Thank you so much. We're coming close to an end of this session of Good Morning BSN. Questions have been asked. It was very interesting. Thank you so much, Marco van der Pol and Geert Habets, for your input. This was our 30th Good Morning BSN. Next week, on our 31st, we're going to talk about decision-making, and then especially decision-making leadership in a time of, for instance, the corona pandemic. Not for instance, in a time of the corona pandemic. We're going to have a presenter that's well known in Holland. He's the director of the Netherlands Loan Foundation, Karoli Illy. And as a reflector, we get a reflection from the Nigerian medical director, Femi Omololu, who we heard just yet asking a question, I think. And the session is being moderated by Oki Okera, who's the director of the Impact Center for Great Leadership. Hope to see you all again next week. Have a nice day, have a nice working day, and hopefully you can use some of the content you heard today